Yes. We're back again to bring you the news that you can use. Civil servant takes government to court to retain her job. And you may be asking yourself, who is a civil servant? A civil servant is a servant of the country who is under the authority of the Governor General, who is under the authority of the British monarch, usually the Queen, but the Queen is no longer in existence in the form that we're accustomed to. So the king is now taking charge of her responsibilities. So that covers who a civil servant is. So a civil servant is, as we state, a servant, which means that they are serving for the interests of the party that is ruling. And we're not talking about JLP, PNP, NDM, and the other parties that are prominent in the country. We are talking about serving the monarchy, the Queen of England, and now, as we discussed before, the King of England in 2023. So what we need to understand is the role of the King and Queen of England still takes precedence in the Jamaican society today. And you would be so amazed that many persons don't understand that they are actually not as free as they thought they were. They are not even independent, nor are Jamaicans emancipated. That is just an illusion created so that they can feel as though progress is being made. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about a civil servant having to take the government to court to retain her jobs. Putting all fun and joke aside, to have to take your employer to court in order to keep your job is a big foul in both directions. And sometimes I can attest to it. It is very difficult working in the government setting. You have a lot of workload to do. Yes, we understand that. And we also have situation in which you can get burned out, you can get discouraged, you can get disheartened. But when it comes to the point where you have to take your employer to court to retain your job, it means that there is indication of wrongful termination. And if wrongful termination occurs, it means that things are not really looking well. The challenge with this whole situation is that when the government does something wrong, they can delay it, putting you in a compromised position over time, and you are losing resources, losing capital, having to pay these fees when they are using bureaucracy to hold you out. And the funny thing about understanding all of this is to decide who is the government that they're talking about. Because you know that the governmental structure comprises of many different fractions, sub-fractions, and it's very difficult to know who or which aspect of the government structure that we're talking about. But we're just going to simplify this so that we can have a rational understanding. A lot of persons has taken the government to court already because of breaches in contracts, because of wrongful termination, because of ill address to certain situation, and persons have even lost their job for speaking out against their supervisors who were performing malpractices. So being in government can be a very tricky position to be, and you have to understand that people know people, and when people know people, you don't have to be the one who is right to get ahead. You can be wrong and strong, and you are the one who is believed. And you can be right and tight with your rightness, and all the evidence prove that you are right. But because you don't have the level of the hierarchy power, guess what happened? Whatever you say is discredited, and then your reputation is destroyed. Not because you were wrong, but because you did not have the power to speak on that matter, even though you were actually wrong. You were actually correct. My apologies. So you feel as though you are wrong, but actually what is happening is that you were wronged. So right becomes wrong and wrong becomes right. And you may be saying to yourself, this is ridiculous. Yes, it is a ridiculous concept. Just like us believing that we're free people in the country of Jamaica when we are still living in an oppressive state, even though that we were promised prosperity, we are still living in an oppressive state. Yes, there are persons who have millions and billions of dollars. Yes, we may have access to all that, but that doesn't change the fact that majority of Jamaicans can't enjoy the niceties that Jamaica has to offer. Yes, people are investing. Yes, we too invest in the country of Jamaica, but not everybody has the ability to invest in the meaningful way that is significant and can position themselves and their family for a better future. They have to play the waiting game and allow their assets to accumulate before they can move forward. So the civil servant takes the government to court, and this is not the first time we're seeing this. And the question we should be asking ourselves, should a civil servant have to take the government to court? And the answer is yes and no. The first thing is yes, if the person has been wrong, they should be taken to court, they should be sued, and relative compensation for the damages should be given. And you need to understand that depending on where you are on the hierarchy in the government employment structure, your damages are different from someone on a higher level. So if the prime minister claims that he was mistreated, he was abused, he had some concerns, his damages will be more than the average employee in the government sector, because he has hierarchy and he's at he has status putting him on the top of the hierarchy ladder. And when this happens, we see that many persons feel that there is no balance in power, and this is all a power game where you just have to understand what is taking place. So after this lady gets her compensation, what next should she do? She should not go back to her former employer. It would mean that this lady has not realized that you don't go where you're not welcome. And if you're not welcome in a particular position, I don't see how you can, in good judgment, be serving persons comfortably, knowing very well that what is going to come next is victimization. I know that the clause usually when these matters are settled is that there should be no retaliation or victimization, but those are just words on paper. And if you know that once certain things happen, the victimization, you can guarantee with absolute certainty that it is coming, whether overtly or covertly. So these are just some things that you have to be mindful of when dealing with situations like this. And as a civil servant, I want you to know that you are a servant and you're acting in a service capacity. You may think that you are developing and empowering and moving up, but you can only go as far as they would allow you to. So I am admonishing you as a civil servant, after the court proceedings are completed and you have been reinstated, I would tell you to take your severance package, move forward with your life into an industry that someone actually cares about, or move forward and create something for yourself. Sometimes we have to know as people when it's time to go. And the Lord works in mysterious ways, working wonders. So sometimes this setback is a setup for a comeback. And I hope that you will take this with a grain of salt as you make strategic decision for your life. So now that you know, we are reporting the news as how it should be reported. We are not coming from one side, because guess what, we are not sponsored, so we can say whatever it is that we desire to say, because remember, he who pays the piper plays the tune. And that is all we have on this matter. Sign out from RoadTripja on behalf of all of us here. Remember, walk, ride, drive, and fly good. Until next time.